When it comes to survival, what you need when you need it is the most useful tool. But the undisputed, all-around most useful tool is the knife. With regards to tools, it pays to keep an open mind. Staying aware and observant of your surroundings. Noticing what raw materials are available, what can be used, what can be fashioned into a tool, what can be used as is as a tool. Oh, what's this? Looks like a notebook of some kind.
T-Bone Prod's survival lesson, The Knife. This should be an interesting read. The knife is the epitome of survival tools. It can be used to affect, with an A, not an E, and or acquire all survival essentials, whether this means directly in and of the use of the knife itself, or indirectly by way of using the knife to make other tools that more efficiently affect, again with an A, not an E, and or acquire all survival essentials. In the very least, a knife must be durable and efficient at cutting, which is every knife's main intended purpose. But to be considered a survival knife, it must also be versatile. This is why survival knives are typically larger than camp knives, so they can be used to do things like baton and chop through wood. This standard of versatility is so commonly expected of a survival knife that it is, for all practical purposes of argument, expected to be a part of its efficacy. For this reason, survival knives are judged to a higher echelon in terms of durability. Likewise, in terms of versatility, we must raise the bar, and in doing so, look further than its ability to merely cut, baton, and chop. Enter the hollow-handled survival knife. There have been many over the years, most subpar to a minimum standard set by few. P.S. Check your mailbox. Huh.
I'm way out here in the wilderness. I gotta get back to my mailbox. Oh, there it is, right there, right in the middle of the wilderness. Well, I'll just have to look and see what I've got in here. Oh, there is something. Wow. This looks impressive. I've got a package here that says Kizlyar Supreme. I hope it's a knife. So let's unbox this Kizlyar Supreme. First thing I want to talk about is this sheath. Looks to be of quality manufacture. Some kind of Cordura nylon or other. A wide belt loop. Molly or PALS compatible. Snap and Velcro loops. This is adjustable. Looks to be a another Molly type of platform, PALS type of thing. But before I get into any detail concerning any of this, the first thing I want to do is to point out that in discussing the sheath, that it has this cordage here with this cord lock. And the first thing I'm noticing is that this is a nylon material or polyester material. It's not paracord. The first thing I want to do, since I consider these kinds of things to be multi-purpose, is to make it even more multi-purpose and to put some paracord in here. So I want to untie this. These types of things here, the string, these are typically used to tie around the leg where it's sheathed to, and tie around to secure it. This one doesn't seem long enough to do that, but I'm going to remedy that by adding some paracord. So I'm going to replace this. This is not dysfunctional by any means. It's stretchy and strong. So, well, actually it's not too strong, is it? I just broke it. But that's the sheath. Alright, so I always make it a habit of replacing these types of things with paracord, because this stuff isn't as versatile as paracord. I have some right here. I'm going to go with more rather than less. Let's see. I just sort of measure it enough to go through these loops in a different sort of pattern, and then enough to go around my leg as well, so I can use it to tie off. This knife is kind of dull. Need to sharpen it. I've had that Swiss Army knife in my pocket since I was 12. But anyway, the other thing I want to do is show you is paracord. As many of you already know, it has 7 inner strands that are each composed of 3 strands each. This sheath can be removed. The inner cords can be removed, and the sheath can be used alone for other purposes. Well, what I want to show you is just a way to make it easier to fit through these holes. Go ahead and burn these ends down. Got quite a bit of wind here, so there we go. Just straighten them out a little bit, just to make it easier fit through these holes. Alright, there we go. So I've gone ahead and I've replaced this cord with this paracord. I've seared the ends, and I've run it through in this sort of crisscross patterns, because not only do I want to be able to secure it to my leg, but what I want to do is I'm going to put a knot right here. So that's not going anywhere. Yeah. And then use this so that I can secure this. Use this to secure it to my leg. I'll run these through. If they fit, they should. But what happens sometimes is with these plastic ends is you have too much hardened plastic on there. You have to kind of straighten it out with your fingers or against an object as it's drying in order to make it more streamlined to fit through things like this. So now I've got this attached to my belt. It's firmly attached through this wide loop here, and what I wanted to show you is how this works. I undid this here, so I'm gonna have to run it through again, but it should be a simple thing to do since I've melted the ends of the paracord to be more of a spear shape. I can grab them through well enough. This isn't my ideal cord lock, but it's the one that came with the knife, so I'm using it. There. Now it's attached, so when I raise my leg, it's not down here dangling around flopping against the brush. Right? That works good. You can adjust it for different size legs, whatever. You can even go ahead and make sure it's good and affixed by pulling both of these ends through in a knot like that. That way it's not coming off no matter what. So you can be running around and jumping, it's going to stay affixed to your side. Another thing I wanted to point out about this cord wrapped around the sheath is some people think, oh, you know, in addition to it being a leg retention strap, it's also extra cordage, and which it is. But the reason why I did this crisscross pattern on here was so that I can add a dedicated hank of cordage to hold it in better, so that I wouldn't have to sacrifice my leg retention whenever I need some more paracord, right? So I can attach this, and this is just 25 feet of extra paracord should I need it. And I can loosen this knot up a little bit and loosen these straps a little bit so that I can run this through here. Loosen it up a little more. This is 25 feet, that's quite a lot. And I can use this end. I can also use this PALS webbing here. You know, I can run the end through there, but I'll just go ahead and run it through there and underneath the top here, and just quickly tie it off like that. I can just give it just one little knot. I'll hold it tight. It's not going anywhere. I mean, it's hanging down a little bit, but once I pull on these, tighten it down, it's not going anywhere at all. So that's your extra paracord right there, should you need it. That way you can retain your leg strap functionality. Alright? How's that? Pretty cool, huh? And removing it is just simple a matter of untying this knot, pulling it out if you need it. Here I am again with the Kizlyar Survivalist X knife, and I have not removed it from its sheath yet. So far I've only discussed the sheath and replacing the cordage that it can with this paracord, and I also wanted to I want to put a piece of paracord right in here through this lanyard right here, this hole, and I'll show you how to do that. It's not as easy as it might seem because this is a very small hole. The end of this paracord doesn't fit through there even when I smashed it down pretty good, so I'm going to use a different technique. And basically you take your length of paracord, and doesn't take much of this Scotch tape, just a small length of it, and the idea is just to bring this to a point. And so that's what I'm going to do. Just sort of wrap it in there real quick, twist it around. And this is, I probably could have used more, but the idea is to bring it to a point that will fit through a smaller hole. Now it worked. Put this one through first. And this one's second, so it's tighter, more difficult. There it is. Remove the tape. So basically you have a lanyard hole. So when you run your hand through here. Now I'm going to remove it from the sheath. run your hand through. You got a lanyard hole, so if you drop the knife, it's not going to land on the rocks. You're not going to lose it in some water. It's going to dangle, you know. So if you drop it, whoops, you're not losing it. Now, the reason for the cord lock rather than a knot is for this reason. I'll show you. You put it back in the knife. I mean, the knife in the sheath. Now, if you have this sitting here, it's hanging on your waist, and this thing's dangling down. Say you're walking through some dense brush, and a branch gets caught in here, and now look, it's pulling, right? You caught. You don't want that to happen. So rather than trying to find some way to tuck this down in, you've got the cord lock here. You just bring it all the way down, just like that. Now it's sitting here, these two ends are free. Doesn't matter how thick the brush is you're walking through, your branches aren't going to get caught on this and you're not going to get hung up. I want to take a closer look at the knife itself. This is the Survivalist X from Kizlyar Supreme, and this one is in the D2 steel. I don't know if you can read that right there. D2 steel is a tool steel. This has got a lot of oil on it. That's good, it comes from the manufacturer that way. Kizlyar Supreme, made in Russia. Then it's got some measurements, inches, and it looks like centimeters. 11 centimeters, 4 inches. And before getting into all the particulars concerning the knife itself and the steel itself, I just wanted to uncap this and take a look at the contents of the hollow handle. So I'm going to put it back into the sheath. And this knife can go into the sheath either way, by the way, for right or left-handers. And I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this. It's another good thing about having a lanyard on here, especially since it's got a removable cap, is this going to make it a lot harder to lose the cap, especially if this paracord is bright red or orange or something like that. You can set it down somewhere and you're not going to lose it, because you can see this, right? So maybe you want a different color. I'm just going to leave it black for now. The cap is made of the same material as the hollow handle. Duraluminum, they call it. It's aluminum alloy. It's very durable, very strong, very lightweight. So yeah, looking down in there, I can see there's some oil in there. I don't know how good a look you can get. And you can see kind of what's going on down in there, or not. I'm not sure about the lighting right here. But basically, when I look down in here, I can see this piece of metal, and the tube goes all the way down to about here, and then you can see underneath it to here. So it's got two retaining screws. So this isn't going to be waterproof. This is going to be water resistant, because this is obviously, you can see it. You can see this, the full tang. This isn't a full tang is what I mean. The blade goes to here and it stops. And you can see the end of that piece of metal in there. So a lot of guys will say, oh, it's not a full tang knife, so it's useless as a survival knife. And you know what? That's the whole point of this review, is to find out whether or not this design is viable. And what I know so far about my researching into this knife manufacturer is that it is viable as a survival knife, and I will be putting this through the paces. Right now I'm only looking at the contents of this survival kit capsule, this little tube, which I'm now going to open and show. I have not looked into this before. This is the first time I've opened this. So it's a plastic tube. looks to be water resistant, and I will be testing this in the water as well. This tube is pretty much a perfect fit. You might be able to fit some paper in there around the edges, or maybe a striker for matches. I don't know. Maybe you could. There's not much room, is what I'm saying, and it goes all the way down, and it's flush right here. So that's that. Inside that looks to be, it's a bandage, adhesive strip, just your common band-aid, I guess. Bandage strip. Looking at it through the paper, I can see that the bandage itself doesn't quite meet the edge of the elastic, the stickiness, and that's good if the stickiness extends all the way around the bandage and not just ending here and here. And the reason that's good is because that will prevent debris from creeping in underneath the sides and interfering with your wound. But it's just a band-aid, that's all it is. It's not going to stop any major bleeding or anything. It's just to prevent things from getting into an already stopped bleeding wound and whatnot. But it's what it is. Okay. Now here we got some other things. Looks like a little fishing kit in a Ziploc bag. There is some monofilament. It looks like it's maybe 6-7 pound test or something like that. There are 3 hooks, and each one is a different size. 3 hooks and 2 split lead weights, and the monofilament. I don't know how many feet that is. The small hook will catch a small fish and a large fish. Large hook won't necessarily catch smaller fish, but this can still catch larger fish. 2 different sizes of lead weight. So I like that they have that understanding that they want different sizes of hook in there, and that they're on the smaller side, because the smaller hooks will also catch larger fish. If there's only a large hook like this one, and there's only small fish in the water, it's not going to do a good job of catching them, because their mouths aren't going to be able to go around that larger size. So that looks like that's the fishing component. So it looks like there's some thread. Not how much it is, but it's quite a bit of thread. And 2 different sizes of sewing needle. One of them has a larger eye and is longer. These things are sealed up in some paper. These are 2 different sizes of X-Acto blade, probably razor sharp. I'll go ahead and open these and show them to you. So yeah, here's one of them. Sure enough, and this is important to have in a survival kit. This one has a little bit rust on it right there. This blade, very sharp, and then another one, more of a, this kind of style. It's got these 2 extra blades, be used for different things. This one can be used for doing fine skinning work on an animal or whatever. This can be used for any other small, fine precision cutting. That's nice that those are included in there. We've got a safety pin, which can be used as a makeshift fish hook, to emergency repairs for clothing. Many uses for something like this. Trap trigger component, it's up to the imagination. And some wire. Looks like it's some brass wire. I don't know how many feet of it is. This can be used for many different things, obviously. Limited to the imagination, really. It's some wire. So, nice. Oh, last but not least, of course, we've got, and these seem to be some kind of hurricane type matches wrapped in plastic with a striker. Well, that's the components of the kit, and they all fit in here. Didn't wrap it quite as tight as I could have. Be careful, that's sharp. Good thing I had those edges pointed down, because I've just put some pressure on there, see? That could have been a nice little nick, nice little puncture. Glad it wasn't. Glad I was thinking smart about that. So yeah, wrapping it in the Band-Aid works. And into the vial. We're going to test to see whether this is actually waterproof or water resistant. I'm guessing it's going to be water resistant, but it could be more or less so. Because this, even though it has an O-ring here, and this part will be waterproof, this part down here in the inside, that's not going to be waterproof. That's going to be merely water resistant. I talked about the cap and why it's a good idea to have a lanyard with a cord lock on it. I also want to show you that the ends here I've put knots on to make it easier, or impossible or more difficult to lose the cord lock. You might pull the cord lock too far with these little ties on here, these little knots. It's not going anywhere. I'm just going to try them here. I don't know what kind of matches they are. Open them up. I'm going to give them the water test. So one of them is just going to go right into this water. These two components here, the striker and the knives, or the matches and the striker are in two separate components. They're sealed off from each other, so it's going to require 2 cuts to get them out. This thing is really well put together, almost too much. But the point is that it's going to be waterproof, so this is good. Too much for convenience, but good enough to make it waterproof. You go ahead and test this match out right here. Oh, broke. Oh, we should. Well, there it goes. Kind of. Don't see any real flame, but it's kind of smoldering. It's like a fuse, I guess. I didn't see any real flame on there. Try this one. These matches need to be upgraded, is my opinion so far. I'm trying to do this very gently. You can hear it popping like it wants to ignite. There it goes. Once again, no flame. Only a lot of smoke. And it's just sort of burning down without producing flame. So anyway, in my opinion, because I can't get these matches to work reliably dry, they're useless. But I'll go ahead and try this one. Dry it off with my shirt a little bit. It's been sitting for a few minutes, and now it's dry. Try again, same test. It's really kind of soft. It's just eating away at the tip. It's not really doing much. I don't know if that's in focus there. Yeah. Yeah, this one broke. You can see the moisture in there, I think. It's But anyway, the matches are useless. So what I want to do now is like a laboratory test. Not even really a test, but just a measure of how water resistant this tube is and this vial is. So I've inserted a piece of cardboard in this tube. And I'm going to submerge it in this water. This is used to keep it submerged, and The cap I'll use to weight it. The container, the hollow handle, I'm just going to fill it up with some water. Almost all the way full. What I want to do is I want to apply some pressure here, so I'm going to blow onto this to see if I can get some water to come out. So far, no water coming out. Oh, there we got a little bit of a drop right there. A little bit of water right there. The water escaping, and sure enough, it's escaping right here. See it traveling down. So we know that this is water resistant. I'm just going to let this sit for about an hour, and I'll come back to it, and we'll check to see just how water resistant this vial is. While this vial is soaking, this would be a good time to take a closer look at this knife. This is the Kizlyar Supreme Survivalist X in the D2 steel. This knife also comes in the AUS 8 steel, which is also known as Japanese stainless steel, which is softer than the D2. The D2 is harder and will retain its edge longer, but the trade-off is that it's harder to sharpen it to a fine edge. It takes a little bit more work, a little bit more time. This coating is what they call titanium gray, and it actually is a titanium ceramic coating that is known to be very hard, very durable. The hollow handle itself is Duralum, which is an aluminum alloy, which is known to be very lightweight and strong. Looks like we've got some graduations here. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 centimeters. Made in Russia. While we're sitting here, thought I'd go ahead and read to you this card that came with the box. One side is in Russian, the other side is in English. Thought I might have to use reading glasses to read this, but I can read it. Kizlyar Supreme Lifetime Warranty. Quality is of top priority for Kizlyar Supreme, and we stand behind the quality of our products. Therefore, all of our knives come with lifetime manufacturer's warranty. The warranty covers any and all defects in workmanship, build quality, and materials used. This warranty does not cover improper usage that results in defects, dents, cuts, breakages, or other damage to knife. Examples of improper usage which may result in the warranty being voided include the following: throwing, pounding, prying, striking, hacking of hard objects for which the knife is not designed. The function of a knife is cutting, and using it for purposes other than that is not covered by warranty. Now, the point of my reading this is to get to this clause that I have confirmed with Kizlyar Supreme does apply to the Survivalist X. So, and the clause is, here we go, asterisk, some models that have specific designs may be suitable for heavier tasks, in which case the warranty terms will be honored, e.g. sawing, axing, and hacking, etc. So, using this to baton and chop with, sawing, hacking, all that rough stuff that it describes as not being covered under their general knife warranty is covered with the Survivalist X. Likewise, it is also covered with the Survivalist Z, which I do not have at this time. So that's good. That tells you something. That tells you that even if you're using this for the intended purpose of a survival knife, to chop, to baton, to hack, to saw, to pry, all that really heavy work, that this is going to remain intact. They're so confident that they have a lifetime warranty against all that abusive behavior, because if it does break, you can return it and they'll replace it or repair it. In other words, it's not going to break, is the logic. But we'll soon find out when I put this through the paces. So it's been over an hour. And yes, we can see just what we thought. Water resistant, because there's water inside. And the cardboard is obviously wet. So. Now I don't know if this design, not being a fully enclosed compartment, which would make it fully waterproof because the only point of egress would be where the cap is, was done intentionally because it's easier to manufacture it that way, or what. But because water can accumulate down there, I would suggest putting a few drops of oil in there, because that is the back of the blade. And while the D2 steel is almost stainless, it isn't stainless. And even if it were, with prolonged contact with water, even a stainless steel will rust, because stainless means it will stain less as opposed to more. Doesn't mean stain proof. Of course, my suggestion is to mill this out to where it doesn't go all the way through, thus creating, a fully waterproofed container. But I'm not sure about the manufacturing process, so maybe they did it this way for a reason. Maybe this is the only way they can do it. But once again, I'm going to put a couple drops of oil in there just to protect those parts of metal that are so close together that if there is moisture there, it would prolong there being moisture longer. The oil will help prevent that. Because this is merely water resistant, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just using mineral oil. Lubricate down inside the hollow handle. I'm using this stick to be more precise about it so I don't get any onto the walls of the container here. I'm just kind of a precise person like that. So I'm getting a bunch of drops right down directly onto the metal down there to protect it from any moisture that might get in, any moisture that might seep in, through this area where we know that it will. If it's exposed, if it's in water long enough, it will. Another thing I wanted to show you was these snaps right here. These are adjustable, they're removable so that you can turn them around. Presently they're in the right-handed position, so that as you're traveling this way, the brush is going to rub against it like this. If you were left-handed and you had it on your left hip, you'd want to switch these around, otherwise the brush would be coming this way and it might, see? So yeah. So these are removable. They're attached via Velcro under here. I have moved this one around a little bit. You see, you can fully remove them and put them in there. I'm not going to do that because I am right-handed. But now that I have the knife removed, I want to go ahead and take a look at this sheath insert right here and it has a retaining screw, which I'm going to undo. It's got two sides, so I'm going to have to hold this other side with my finger and unscrew it. Now, I'm looking for something in particular concerning this sheath insert, and that is whether or not moisture, water, can escape from it. Take a look at these. The retaining screws are made out of metal. Looks like a brass spacer, metal washers, metal screws. Before I even remove the insert, I want to point out that there's no grommet here. There's no eyelet here. I'm not talking about an eyelet like this one and like this one that go all the way through. I'm talking about one on this side and another one on this side, so that any moisture escaping from the insert can also escape through the fabric as well. So we'll just pull this out and look. It does have a hole here on the other side as well. This is of course where the retaining screw went through. And what I'm looking for is down here at the bottom, whether or not moisture entering the top will exit through the bottom. And it does. It does have these openings. So you can see that goes all the way through. Moisture will escape, and so too will sand, the other debris. This is not sealed down here, so it can be wedged apart if you needed to. Something very large got stuck in there. But that's important to have, and insert a sheath that will allow water to escape. Once again, the next step is making sure that it can also escape from the sheath. So two eyelets, one on this side and one on this side. To facilitate that is a good recommended upgrade for this sheath. Another upgrade I've made to the sheath since I've used this cord lock that was originally down here on the lanyard. Since the cord lock is not ever meant to be removed from the lanyard, it's better, in my opinion, that it has just one hole, so I'm using this one here. I've put a different one on here since the leg retention loop is meant to have one of these strings removed, this one, to facilitate donning and doffing the leg retention. I've upgraded the cord lock to a double hole cord lock. See, so it's got two holes in it, which just makes it easier to remove the one hole for wrapping and unwrapping around the leg, and it makes it a whole lot easier to put it back in there rather than having to struggle with that smaller single hole cord lock like this one. So the way I have the sheath now is pretty much how I would want it for my own self. Note that this is a MOLLE platform here, and it has loops that go this way and this way, both horizontal and vertical, so it's very versatile, and any number of small pouches can be attached here rather than this hang. Another thing I'd like to point out about this sheath is that while I can see the stitching here just beneath this retention loop, the stitching is here where it meets. While I can understand that that might be a reason why this retaining loop is higher and not in fact down here flush with the base of the hilt here of the knife, it does allow for some play and I know that a lot of guys who like to run a tight ship per se, you might frown upon this a little bit, either because they feel that it's a they might feel like hyper exaggerating the danger to flesh, that there's an exposed portion of blade here, or danger to the knife itself being dulled against something hitting against it, or just because they just want it to feel tighter, So another suggestion could be to move this thing down here, this retention strap, to where it's flush with the knife. That way when you pull on it, and it won't get pulled inadvertently, just to eliminate play. I don't think it's a big deal, but I know that there's some people out there who would suggest this as an upgrade, to move this one right here is in a perfect location as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't interfere with removal of the cap. The cap's easy to remove, especially with this lanyard hole upgrade I put on here. You just sort of twist it around like that, and it's the same kind of thing with putting it back on, rather than sit here going like this. You just very quickly, and it's on. Kind of a neat little trick. Anyhow,